Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Jeff Packer.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hey Jeff, how's it going?
Hey, doing real well.
Good.
Awesome. Hey, so let's back it up a little bit. Actually, before we do that, what exactly do you do?
I run the Packer Group, which is a real estate team. Residential real estate is our focus, and our office is located in Plymouth, and we just cover really kind of the western suburbs of the Detroit metro market.
That's awesome. So let's back it up a little bit now. When you were little, did you know you wanted to be an agent when you grew up?
No.
What did you want to do?
Never even thought about it. No, I mean, I've always been intrigued with, business ownership, even at a young level. I think I was in middle school when I first read how to win friends and influence people, but that was the Dale Carnegie book.
Yep.
And so I just my whole life have been, kind of would listen to in the car. Mom would play different leaders talking at different conferences and things like that. And just hearing leadership stuff constantly in the car. And then, and not that they necessarily drummed that into my head. I just was absorbing it as they were absorbing it. And so I just always knew I wanted to run some sort of business, and just had the opportunity to make real estate that thing.
That's awesome. So did you go right straight into real estate when you got out of high school, or what did you end up doing?
So I went and got a 4 years degree in business management, and that was from the University of Northern Iowa.
Nice.
So our claim to fame is that's where Kurt Warner played his high school or his college football.
Nice.
A few other guys, but Kurt's the one who's most well known.
Yeah.
And many people remember the UNI basketball team in the early 2000s or mid 2000s ended up having a really good run in the NCAA tournament. But yeah, I just knew I needed to get a little bit of extra schooling with the business management thing, so I went and did that. And then all the jobs that I was getting offered were entry-level management positions coming out of college. Most of them were for banks. In hindsight, I graduated in 2005. So hindsight, I probably would have been caught up in the subprime crash market and things like that with all these banks changing hands and things like that. And so who knows what that would have led to. But just had the opportunity to get into real estate right out of college.
Nice.
And took that opportunity. And 16 years later, here I am.
Nice. Awesome. Did you have any other businesses or any other side hustles when you were younger? Because you said you were starting it when you were young.
Yeah. Well, I'd say they were the proverbial ones, right? So I as a paper delivery boy, did that at a young age. Hy-Vee was the grocery store in Iowa. And so at the age of 14, I worked as I kid you not, my job title was ASITA, and it is an acronym for Smile in the Aisle. Nice. And so I got paid to just be super helpful in the aisles because that was their slogan. Hy-Vee, you shop Hy-Vee because there's a helpful smile in every aisle. And so that's what I got paid to do at the age of 14. And then had my own, lawn cutting business, all through high school and worked at different other places and always in some level of management or sales experience.
That's awesome.
And it all prepared me, obviously uniquely for what I do now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. You had the entrepreneur already in you, so that works out good. But so let's talk about your first, once you got right into real estate, were you on a team or were you by yourself, or how'd the beginning go?
Yeah, so I actually worked with a guy as a buyer's agent. It was just him and I. Mm-hmm. And so I did that for about 4 years. When I left him, it wasn't just him and I anymore. Him and I together kind of helped build his team. And it just got to a point, kind of 4 years in, where I just knew fundamentally him and I had some differences in how we handled business. And it just wasn't connecting anymore, it didn't make sense. I was always kind of feeling this internal conflict with how he chose to do business and how I choose to do business. And and so that just inevitably was always going to probably, there was always going to be that opportunity to leave. But I was incredibly grateful. I learned a lot of really valuable lessons in that 4 years. And then, and so that would have been like 2009, shortly after the subprime market crashed. I left working with him and went off on my own. And it wasn't shortly after that I ended up needing to hire my first person, and hence the team began, pretty quickly there after leaving him.
Oh yeah, nice. So you've had your team for a while then, huh?
Yes.
Sweet, I like it. So let's talk about your first transaction when you were solo. Did it go as planned, or were you like, I don't have what I normally had before? How'd that go?
No, I mean, the nice thing is like when I worked with him, it was just him and I, and so it's not like I had an assistant or anything like that. So I knew how to handle the whole transaction and stuff like that, I think like many people, I was a control freak. And so, stepping back into the realms of having to handle everything again really wasn't that much of a stretch for me. My biggest issue was I got really sick shortly after I had left him, where it landed me in the hospital. I ended up having to have a major surgery and things like that. And it happened right about the time I ended up hiring my first assistant.
Oh, wow.
And so she worked with me for a week. I trained her. I went on a planned vacation for a week and, obviously stayed in touch with her and coaching her on different things. And then I landed up in the hospital for a month. And so she, so I did, that was probably one of the greatest challenges for us starting off was here I was trying to earn a living and especially in a time when the economy was really, really struggling and there were a myriad of challenges. And I had my first employee and here I am in the hospital for a month, but So those things didn't go as planned, but everything else seemed to go as planned. We just, we've always focused on just the client and their experience and doing the right thing for them, treating them like they were, a brother or sister and just loving on them well. And as a result, that is just spilled over here, now 12 years now into running a team. It's those foundational and fundamental ways in which we handle things have really made life a lot easier now.
Yeah. And hey, you never know, like when you were in the hospital, you may have actually come up with a new kind of system of how to run it when you were like, well, I'm not here, so I guess you got to run it also.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, all I know is I was doped up on a lot of pain meds. So anything I came with, I can't even really take credit for because I wasn't thinking very lucidly at that time.
Yeah, that's funny. So tell us about your team right now. What are you at? How many people you guys got in your team right now, and kind of what you're still kind of the same area, just around Plymouth. Is your team kind of spread out, or what? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I've got 11 agents that work for me now. And then I've got an amazing operations crew. So I've got a listing coordinator, 2 closing coordinators. I've got a director of operations. I've got a director of sales. I've got my own marketing team. So I've got a director of marketing that handles all of our, website and social media platforms. And then I've got a professional photographer and videographer that works for me as well. And so that's like and I've got, we added this last year, an internal sales associate who's handling a lot of the, sales, like scheduling of appointments and lead scrubbing and things like that. And so that's what the team has developed into, which has been fantastic. And then I've got a couple of other, branches. I own a staging company as well. And so I've got a professional stager that works for me, as well as, our crew that helps kind of move in and out furniture. And then one of my favorite things is I love taking something that's just been kind of forgotten about and run down and things like that. And so I fix and flip houses as well. And obviously all of that kind of plays off of each other and creates more business. Right. So it's just been a really, really good, neat experience.
When did you start flipping homes?
Started probably in like 2008, 9, okay. When the market was, when there was like every house was a foreclosure that we were selling. We started early doing that, and then took a little bit of a break, and then started it back up again a few years back, because it was just, I'd go out on probably, I don't know, half a dozen appointments every year where it was somebody who was just like inherited the house or whatever and just didn't want to necessarily do the work, just wanted to unload it quickly. And so there were like these opportunities that just were falling in my lap, and it's like, well, why not?
Right.
So
yeah, if they're there, you might as well go for it.
Say that again.
I said, if they're there, you might as well go for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's one of those things that just, I don't really do the work. I just pay for the work to be done. But I've got a partner, and she used to be our professional stager, and because of the opportunity to flip more houses became an opportunity for us. It just made sense for her to kind of retire from the staging business, and I brought in somebody else to step into those shoes so that she could focus full time on. She does like all the design and selections and managing of the contractors, and then I find them and sell them, when we get done with them, and it's just been a really good relationship.
Yeah, that's
nice.
Sweet. How over the years, what do you think has been your most memorable experience with real estate? Do you have one that sticks out and you're like, oh yeah, that was fun. That was a good one.
I mean, I have a few, like on the buy side, I just, I always tell the story of I had this client that was looking, she was kind of looking all over. They didn't really know exactly where they wanted to be. They were relocating. She was pregnant, like 8 months pregnant, like very, very pregnant, and very close to delivering their first child. And this was back when like you waited a day and there was like 35 more homes that hit the market. So it was like this idea of like, she didn't really want to leave any stone unturned. I think I got done when I finally found them the house to buy. I counted through all the MLS sheets that I had shown them, because I was back at that day, I kept a stack. And it was like something like 180 something homes that I showed her over like a 6-month period of time. Wow. And I just remember it was just persistence, that like, it was great relationship, great working relationship, super happy for them. They ended up really getting into the house that they ultimately needed. But a lot of extra hand holding, because again, as a pregnant woman, she needed snacks more often than other clients. So I had to build in between, we'd go and look at like 15, 20 houses in a day. And I'd have to build in like time for lunch, time for, snacks, time for potty breaks, all these things. And it was just a bit of a challenge back then, but that's the way the market was. And I just remember that being the case. And then another one that sticks out in terms of just negotiating, like I just remember I had the house listed. It was a higher priced home at the time. It was in a beautiful subdivision in Northville. It was priced at like $850. And I remember the offer we got was for $750. It was $100,000 under asking. My client was like super frustrated and things like that. And what a lot of people do, they just want to reject the offer. They don't even want to counter it and give it a chance. And I had told them that I said, when I was talking to the other agent, the other agent kind of revealed that the buyer was kind of desperate, like needed to get under contract very quickly. So I use this story with my agents when I train them and be like, hey, don't be that agent that's like barfing information up all the time. And now you all of a sudden, you want to represent your client well, and you want to make sure that you're not giving away the negotiating power. But this agent happened to give away the negotiating power. I knew they needed to have a signed purchase agreement within like the next couple of days so they could register the kid into the Northville School District. And so I told my client to counter $5,000 less. So we went from $850 to $845, and they took it. So I just always remember that story just being one of those situations where, again, my job is to obviously represent our clients really, really well, help them maximize their profit. And negotiations, I mean, like not all agents are created equal. And so when it comes to hiring the right person, you want to make sure that you're hiring the person that is well suited to defend your equity, sort of say, in that way. Or if you're on the buy side, they're well suited to know the tricks and up that the market conditions kind of require to get your offers accepted, especially right now. I mean, everything's a bidding war, right now. Yeah. So those are two that kind of stick out. I mean, I've got a lot of other embarrassing ones where you walk in and you're like, oh, that's not supposed to be happening in this house right now, and things like that. But some of that's probably not appropriate for the podcast. I don't know if you guys are an explicit podcast or not, but we better save some of those stories for behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well, tell us about some advice that you got back in the beginning when you started out that kind of stuck with you along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the best advice, and this is what I always tell agents, a lot of agents get caught up in like the operations side of the business really quickly. Like, oh, I've got to get a business card. I got to get a picture. I got to get, I got to get a website going. I got this, and this. And it's like, no, you don't, because if you don't have a client, none of that matters.
Yeah.
So you got to go get a client. And so I just remember when I got, licensed in May of 2005. And, and so as I was getting the licensing and things like that, I trained, as much as I could, did, kind of role playing on scripts and stuff like that. And this was back when like almost every lead was like a call off of the sign, there was like internet leads were like hardly a thing, back in 2005. So, I got a stack of people that had called on listings, and the best advice I got was just keep calling them. Mm-hmm. Even if you get somebody who's interested and you go through and you learn what their search criteria is and things like that, don't stop and build that search then and there. Wait until the end of the day. Just focus on just calling and getting those clients. And so that's what I did for the first couple of weeks. And as a result, I ended up getting enough clients in that first couple of weeks that I sold 5 houses my first month in real estate. And it was over $1 million worth of, sales. And that's when I knew it was like, okay, this is a repeatable thing. If you do X, it will produce Y. You just got to do X enough. And if you want more of Y, well, then you just got to do more of X, and things like that. And so it was just something I realized I was really good at very early. And that's the advice I give everybody, is just don't get caught up in the minutia stuff. Just do what works, which is you got to have conversations with people. And mind you, I was like a 22-year-old kid who knew nothing. And yet I was able to at least fool 5 suckers into believing that I could help them, with brokering the transaction of their most important asset they ever will buy.
Yeah.
And I say that tongue in cheek. I mean, obviously I was guided and I knew a little bit of what I was doing, but certainly I was as green can be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So going back to that first transaction, did those clients know that you were brand new? Did they know like that was your first ever transaction?
Yeah, I don't think it was, it wasn't necessarily like brought up. And I actually, a number of them, I've helped sell those houses and buy new ones now. And so I have had discussions with them, and they knew I was young. I mean, there's no hiding that. Right. But I don't think any of them knew that they were the first transaction. They knew that, like now when we talk and them knowing a little bit more of how many, when they get, information from us and they know how long I've been in the market and things like that, it's easy for them to do the math and be like, oh, we were probably one of his first clients and stuff like that. But, back then, I was super available and if I didn't know the answer to whatever question, I found it out, and I had, a mentor to be able to go to on that. So I'm sure they knew, but they didn't feel like that was a big issue because, again, I think it's how I handled it, which was, I didn't like give them a bogus answer of anything. I tried to find out what it was that they needed to know and got them the right information, and that at least helped them feel comfortable enough to at least keep me employed.
Yeah.
So
hey, that's awesome. And hey, at the beginning, you give them a lot of attention. They probably
I tell every new agent, I say the secret sauce that you have, like when you're trying to convince somebody to use you versus like an established agent like me, is you're going to say, hey, nobody's hungrier than I am right now. I'm going to be hungry. You're my sole attention. and you need to see something, I'm going to be able to say, be there within 5 minutes because this is all I've got.
Yep.
And so there is, it's all in how you spin it, like,
yep.
and likewise, I would tell somebody, well, yeah, I'm going to compete against you by telling people, yeah, but you don't want a rookie. You don't want somebody new. You want an established agent, yeah, I may not have as much time and availability, but where I lack that, I make up in wisdom and experience and, things like that. So, and everybody's looking for something different, right? Some people need that immediate attention, and that's what's going to drive their decision, and other people need the wisdom and experience. So nice. Plenty of fish in the pond to go after.
Yeah. Yep. So kind of going forward with your team that you have currently, do you guys have any big goals or anything you want to accomplish in the next 5 years?
Yeah. So I've mapped out at least, I usually just stick with 3 years in advance and mapping that out. And so this year we are, our goal is to tip over the 300 transactions in a year. And that's our goal for this year. In 2022, we want to get between around 475 in terms of transactions.
Nice.
And our hope is by 2023 that we've built to a point where we're exceeding 600 transactions in a year. And so, nice. So we just, we back through that of like what must be true for us to be able to do this stuff.
Right.
It's very important to me that we don't sacrifice our client experience just because we're doing more volume. And so we've looked at what does that mean in terms of adding in, more staff, more agents, more lead opportunities, that are good sources for us to continue to grow and maintain more business and things like that. But yeah, we're constantly growing on that way. And then the other things that we want to continue to do is just continue to give great experience over these next 5 years. And so we have like client appreciation events that we've added. COVID has kind of thrown a wrinkle in the plans for those, but we throw basically 3 client appreciation events a year, and we're looking at maybe adding a 4th one in, and just continuing to find ways to just, again, love on the people that we've helped buy or sell over the last 16 years.
That's awesome. I like it. So let's say you had to start all over today. You had all the knowledge you have. How would you spend your first $1,000?
Yeah. Well, I guess a lot of what I would say you got to do is you just get, a lot of it doesn't cost money. You just pick up the phone and call people. Yeah. Do as many open houses as you can, things like that. Quite honestly, $1,000 isn't going to really do much for you as far as, leads or things like that. I think a lot of people can waste that kind of stuff and go from there. If all I had was $1,000, I would basically use that to send a letter, personalized letter to everybody that I know, whether it's my mechanic, my dentist, my, primary care physician, my attorney, everybody. And I would make sure that they knew exactly what I do for a living, and how they could help me, whether it's refer somebody to me, whatever it may be. And then I would just build upon that. But when you're new, the best way to get business is from the people who know you best. Mm-hmm. And awesome. They're the ones that want to help you. They're the ones that want to do that. So that doesn't cost a lot of money, but if you're going to spend $1,000, you might as well send a little mailing, a mailer to them, maybe include a little nice gift. That just, says, hey, when you refer somebody to me, I'll make a donation to, whatever in your name, or here's some, movie tickets, or, a Starbucks gift card, whatever it may be, but just ways to let them know that you really appreciate them, referring people to you and utilizing your services.
That's awesome. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So, our website is welcomehomedetroit.com. And there you'll find all the ways to get a hold of us. Our phone number is on there, email address, things like that. And I'm always happy to, obviously, if you got, agents that are listening to this and they want to just pick my brain and find more information, I'd love to do that. If you got people that are obviously looking to buy or sell, and we cover the whole Detroit metro area. I think you guys were asking about the team thing. Like, I've got an agent up in the Clarkston area. I've got an agent, out in the Brighton area. I myself live in Canton, the west side of Canton. So, we do stuff in Ann Arbor and things like that. We've got people in Belleville, things like that. So we've got a pretty good, way to cover a big part of, the Metro Detroit area and things like that. But welcomehomedetroit.com is a great way for them to get plugged in and reach us. And then my personal email is jeff@welcomehomedetroit.com. And I'm always happy to help and assist in any way we can.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today. Is there anything else you want to share with anyone before we go?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on and being a part of the Window Still experience here.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys.
Are these working?
All right.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe? What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
it might be there.
It might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Find
it. It's red.
Yeah. And it's blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah, I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them also give us a 5-star review for listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars, guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take 4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
I don't think this is working.
This is not working.
Yeah.